Hey guys, welcome back to another video. And today I'm in a 2023 Volkswagen Taos SEL 4Motion with the 1.5 liter turbo and 7-speed DSG. This is my wife's service rental as her 2022 Taos is getting the engine rebuilt. More to come on that later in a future video. So in the meantime, I figured I would review this one and give you my impressions, as we had it for about 2.5 weeks now and put 868 miles on this. So without further ado, let's go ahead and check out the outside real quick. So like my wife's 2022 Taos, this one is finished in cornflower blue. It's a very attractive color. Definitely pops in the road, stands out from other cars in the parking lot. It's pretty easy to spot. And this is probably one of my favorite compact crossovers in today's market. It looks really good. Doesn't have that, Ford EcoSport look to it, if you guys know what I mean. Yeah, it's just a very attractive little crossover, and my wife and I really like it. But for 2023, you do get an LED light bar that goes across the front of it. Looks really nice. And this being the SEL, it does have the IQ light package that bends. If you've seen when I started up, the headlights kind of went down and then adjusted and whatever. When you turn the steering wheel, the lights adjust. You might see that in my video when we go drive it. That is really cool. This does have the panoramic sunroof like my wife's house as well. Just really cool. And also with the SEL, you do get these 19-inch wheels with not a lot of sidewall. These kind of look like rubber bands. One pothole, you're pretty much done in these things. I would personally swing for an SE model with a smaller rim size, like what my wife has. As the ride is really rough, you feel everything. I'll get to that when we get to the driving aspect portion of the video, but I would definitely swing for the smaller rim size if I were you. So in the back seat, you do get a very modest amount of space back here. Pretty easy ingress and egress. Very comfortable seating position, very comfortable back seats. I got about 3 inches of headroom and about 4 inches of leg room, with a passenger seat adjusted to my height, and as you can see, the driver's seat's just about the same level. So plenty of room for passengers back here. You get a couple vents, a USB-C port, and a pretty massive hump here. If you're going to have somebody sitting in the middle seat here, they're going to be pretty uncomfortable straddling this center hump. You do get a full down center armrest with a couple cup holders here. You do get a couple map pockets back here. And here's a quick shot of the dash. They got the nice ambient lighting that goes all the way around. My wife sent it to purple because purple is her favorite color. Pretty decent amount of trunk space. Like my wife's house, you're able to fit a couple suitcases in here. I was able to fit a grandfather clock back here, and plenty of space to store your groceries. You do get a nice light, some cargo hooks for your groceries, and a 12-volt outlet back here. And under here, you do get a spare tire, which is nice to see. All right, this may be kind of pointless because you can't see anything, but under the hood is a 1.5 liter turbo mated to a 7-speed dual clutch automatic transmission. It's pretty smooth. It's got a decent amount of power, and I guess I'll go over how much I like this engine when we start driving. So up front here, you get nice leather seats that have a decent amount of bolstering on each side, holds you into place. This one's power, the passenger side is not. Go ahead and step in here. So with the SEL, you do get a digital gauge cluster in the center here, and a same infotainment that is in my wife's house. I forget what the screen size is, but it works pretty well. It's a little bit laggy, and it has this hand gesture stuff that kind of doesn't really work. It's just got your basic stuff, and this one does have navigation. My wife's does not. You do get a backup camera with guidance lines, and this one has parking sensors front and rear, which is actually really nice, and rear cross traffic alert. Dual zone climate control, heated leather seats for both the driver and the passenger. It's really nice. You do get a wireless charger down here, works really well. USB-C ports, your auto start button, parking brake, that's electronic. Your drive modes, we're going to be driving around in my custom drive mode. So in my custom drive mode, I have my steering set to normal. You can have either normal or sport. Sport just over stiffens the steering and makes it unnatural. It's terrible. Drivetrains in sport, it gets rid of that a little bit of throttle lag that these Taoses have, but it does not keep the transmission down a gear, which is nice. It just makes the drivetrain a little bit more smooth, and everything else is normal. The transmission's normal, everything shifts like normal. It just makes it a little more responsive. Adaptive cruise control normal, light assist is normal, and climate control is normal. You do get a couple cup holders, you probably can't see that, and a small size center console and a glove box. Illuminated vanity mirrors, which is nice. I did that like 4 times. That's like my 4th take trying to pronounce that. And an auto dimming mirror with home link, which is really nice. I love home link. All right, let's go ahead and take this thing for a spin. All right. So as we pull out here, what has this thing been like to drive for the past 2.5 weeks? So far, it's been pretty decent. I honestly don't like it as much as I like my wife's SE model. These 19-inch rims make the ride so rough and so loud. You literally feel every imperfection in the road, hear every imperfection in the road. And there, at certain speeds, there's a resonating frequency that happens in the interior that is just so loud. I would definitely swing for a smaller rim size, or if maybe the dealer could swap a SE rims with the SEL, because this is honestly probably the loudest vehicle I have been in probably 10-15 years. It's pretty loud. It's borderline unacceptably loud. So a big problem with the Taoses when they first came out was there is a fair amount of tip-in and delay on the throttle when you would first get on it. Honestly, worse than a CVT. It would be really kind of dangerous to pull out in front of, if you needed to pull out in front of traffic or something like that. Luckily, there was a software update for 2022 Taoses and obviously these new ones like the 2023 and beyond that fixes that, and it's pretty instantaneous. It's definitely not as bad as it was at the beginning. I said in my 3-month review on the Taos that it did get better with driving, but the software update completely eliminated that lag, that initial lag, and definitely made it a lot more enjoyable to drive. Another thing I noticed that's definitely improved in the 2023 models versus my wife's 22 is the transmission. The transmission is a lot smoother. This has the 7-speed dual clutch, and when my wife first got hers, it was kind of rough. It was trying to adapt, I guess, to the driver, and it still didn't really smooth out. But not having my wife's car for a couple weeks and then going into something like this, this car is definitely a lot smoother for sure. This fully digital gauge cluster is really cool. You get a couple screens that you can interchange with. Some of them I really don't understand, like this one and this one. It's just not laid out very well. I mean, you can customize the layout if you want, but it's just not the best. So I tend to leave it on the gauge cluster mode since it seems to be a lot more traditional looking and a lot more pleasing to the eye. Now these Taoses, they do get really decent fuel economy. My wife's Taos, I think the lifetime for it is about 35 miles a gallon. As you can see, I'm not getting the best right now because it's been sitting as I was trying to film the video. But I mean, overall, the past couple weeks, we've been getting like 32, 33 in this one. The bigger rims actually do play a pretty large effect in fuel economy. But these are really fuel efficient little vehicles. You can definitely take them on road trips and not worry about paying a lot of money in fuel. This does take regular 87 octane fuel and does not require premium, which is a very nice thing. The auto start stop system in this Volkswagen works really well. There's really no delay and it doesn't really lurch forward, and it's pretty seamless. I really like Volkswagen's start stop system in this, and the ability to turn it off as well by hitting this button is a nice feature to have if you don't really want to enable that, if you don't really want to drive with that on. The ambient lighting really is cool in this SEL trim. You can customize it to different colors, whatever you want. You can tie it to different drive modes as well. If it's in sport, it turns red. But in my custom drive mode, my wife has set it to purple, as that's her favorite color, and I think it looks pretty sharp. As far as headlight illumination, I really like these LED headlights. My wife's Taos is very similar too. You don't really need fog lights at all. I don't really find myself having the need for fog lights. It does provide ample illumination down the road, and you won't be longing for more, that's for sure. Oh boy, we have somebody who does not know how to work a roundabout. Hey buddy, you can go, man. Oh my goodness gracious, why are you stopping at a roundabout? People here do not understand how roundabouts work. I do not understand that. But anyways, this thing does have pretty good acceleration. I got really no complaints about power here. It does have decent amount of low-end torque for what it is. Car enthusiasts might think it's a little slow, but for the people who are actually going to be buying this car, you won't be longing for more power. It's got ample. Now this car is actually really fun to drive as well. You can really throw it into a corner, and it does have body roll because, it's an SUV, but it's actually really fun to drive. So this does have radar guided cruise control. You just engage it by hitting the on-off button and set, and then you can see in the bottom right corner that it is set to 53 mile an hour. I'll set it to 55. You can also change your following distance if you want. This one also has Volkswagen's driving assist system. It's Volkswagen's way to keep you centered in the road and kind of take the strain off of you as a driver from going around curves and stuff like that. It keeps you centered in your lane really well. I've had no issues with this for the past couple weeks. You can take your hands off the wheel for a little while before it yells at you, but it's mainly a hands-on system, like all these things should be. But yeah, I'll kind of guide it around this corner here. This is pretty much it doing it all itself. I'm not sure if you can see that. It does a really good job. But on this little straight section here, I'll kind of take my hands off the wheel completely for a while, and I'll give you a demonstration of what happens when you have your hands off the wheel for too long. So you can go for quite some time between touching the wheel. I'm actually surprised it hasn't yelled at me yet. Now it's telling me to take over steering. Now. And it'll start beeping at you with that infamous dinger for Volkswagen. I wonder what happens if you just... Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. It jams the brakes on you if you... Wow, that's pretty aggressive. It brake checks you if you do not take over the steering. That's actually pretty awesome. Wow, that was quite unexpected. That's a great way to wake you up right there. Good to know. Some gas. Plenty of power. Like I said before, you won't be longing for much more than this. It gets you around pretty good, has decent amount of passing power. No complaints there at all. So stay tuned. I will be definitely uploading a long-term review video on my wife's 2022 Taos after it gets finished with its engine rebuild. I'll kind of go over what's been happening with that, the battle we've had with Volkswagen on it, and just my overall experience with the vehicle. Definitely stay tuned and subscribe, and make sure you follow on that if you're interested in one of these Taoses. Now, we have had one issue with this vehicle the past couple weeks since we've had it, and it is with the remote start function. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. It works fine now, but up until a couple days ago, you would go to remote start the vehicle, and it would just flash a check engine light at you. It had plenty of fuel, It had plenty of fluids. I popped the hood and checked all the fluids. It was fine. All the doors were shut. The hood was shut. I don't know why it wouldn't remote start. To this day, I am clueless. But a couple days ago, it just resolved itself and has been remote starting fine. But yeah, I mean, you'd get into the car and the check engine light would be on and no remote start. So I'm not quite sure what that means, but just one of the interesting quirks that we had with this vehicle the past couple weeks. Man, I really like these cars. You can really have some fun with them and really throw them into a corner. Now, I'm sure this one would do really well in the snow too. This has Pirellis on it. I don't have a complaint with the tires. I don't think they're particularly loud as far as road noise is. I think that's more the nature of the giant rim on it. But my wife's Taos, it has Bridgestones on it, and it does really well in the snow. I mean, the thing can literally go anywhere. The all-wheel drive system works really well on it, and I'm pretty sure this one here will do just as fine. I did drive it through some heavy rain too, and it did perfectly fine. Doesn't want to, hydroplane and stuff. Now, wiper blades, on the other hand, it's completely opposite on wiper blades. This was the same thing with my wife's Taos, and you can read on the forums and Reddit and stuff like that. These wiper blades are garbage, absolutely garbage. They skip, they're loud. It doesn't matter how much water's on the windshield, they will make a terrible screeching noise. I don't know if they use like rocks for the rubber material on the wiper arm or what, but it is terrible. They don't clean well, and they just skip across the windshield. Definitely, if you get one of these cars, replace the wiper blades instantly. As far as like interior quality goes, I mean, yes, this does kind of feel on the cheaper side. You do get a little bit nicer materials than the SE model in here, a little bit more soft touch things, but it's definitely a little bit on the cheaper side compared to some of its competitors. Hey, editing Sean coming in here. I forgot to mention this in the video, but I wanted to make a little note on the stereo system on this Volkswagen Taos. It's probably one of the worst stereo systems I've ever tested in a vehicle ever. It sounds very tinny, there's no mids, there's hardly any bass, and this is the Beats Premium audio system. I would definitely not spend any extra money to get this system, and it is just not very good at all. Alright, back to the video. Pay attention when I turn the wheel, you can kind of see the headlights move. Watch. See, watch. You see how the headlights move there when I turn the wheel? Now watch when I center it back. It goes to the center. Hopefully that picks it up on the video. I think it's really cool. Definitely a neat feature to have. As far as the reliability goes, I'm not sure how expensive the headlights are to replace if the motor would go out. But it is definitely pretty cool to see that in a $35,000 vehicle. Now you do see it does have traffic sign recognition here on the gauge cluster. I did forget to mention that. That's kind of handy. You can customize the gauge cluster to display on what information you want on either side. That's what I have for my wife's liking. Don't really want to change it right now, but there's a bunch of different things you can configure in the gauge cluster to make it what you want. It's really cool. All right, let's do a quick turning radius test on this car. Let's go ahead and stop, completely turn it to a lock. You can pretty much turn this thing on a dime. It does a really good job. No complaints there at all. All right, that wraps up the 2023 Volkswagen Taos SEL 4Motion. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe and like this video if you enjoyed it. There will be a lot more videos coming soon. Be sure to follow me on Instagram too, at Paul's Place YT. I'll link it in the description below. I do some behind the scenes and some extra stuff there, so go ahead and check it out. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Till next time.